Right, welcome to another episode of building the Britannic Wreck Diorama. I had to think then what I'm doing. I got so many different things going on just lately. I'm very busy, but I want to get another session in working on this wreck because I have some others lined up that I really want to crack on with as well, but I'm not going to do that until I get this one finished. So last time we had a look at to try and get the effect of the wreck where it's been underwater for so many years, and like, you know, the sea life takes over. You get the rusticores, bits of plants and reefs start growing on the ships, all the shipwrecks, and I wasn't sure how I was going to get that bubbly effect on the ship. However, if you watched the last episode, you would have seen that it turned out really nicely, as you can see here, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. You can see it's all bubbly, you can see the one chimney there just roughly. We'll be looking at that in this episode, but it's come out really nicely. Now, I wasn't really 100% sure how I was going to paint the wreck. After a couple of hours of thinking and looking at it and taking it outside in the sun the other day, I've decided that what I would do is give it a faint coat of brown, just brown spray that I bought for spraying the board. Let me just find it. This one here. It's basic 1120 FDE Aero Nut Brown, and if you watched in the episodes, we sprayed around the wreck brown. I gave it a very light coat of this, and then a very far away coat of just grey primer, and as you can see, I've got this browny grey effect of the wreck. Now, it's not brilliant. There are still some effects I need to do to the wreck and everything, but I'm very happy with the overall colour I've achieved. I think it looks really good like it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but I'm very happy how that's turned out. Now, whilst I've been doing that, I've totally forgot about the extras. And when I say extras, I mean the rear mask, the stern mask. We got two chimneys, one here and one here. Quite hard to see from a distance, but they are there, so they're gonna have to be picked out, which I do have some light greys for that, so we'll do that in this episode. And I did say down on the front of the wreck down here, one of the cranes I want flat on the ground, as well as down at the stern here as well. So we'll look at doing that. What I'll probably do is stick the cranes in place, then paint them. So this episode may carry on until tomorrow, because I have to wait for the paint to dry, but that's not a problem, because it's getting dark out and I have tons of stuff to do in the train room at the moment. So we're going to start with the details. Now, all the details are here on the side. I haven't done much work in the shed, so we got a chimney, the stern mask, there it is. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do with the lifeboats. Now, I don't know how well you can see them, but basically the lifeboats are just on one big piece of plastic and then stuck in place. Now, I'm considering very finely cutting those bits off, you know, what lower the lifeboats in, the cranes and everything. Now, Britannic had a very different lifeboat arrangement, because after the Titanic they realised we need more lifeboats, and it still didn't help because this thing sunk pretty fast. But I am going to try and get them off there and stick them in place. We might have a look at that in this episode as well. In fact, we might even start with that. Some of the other bits I have left, like I said, I got a crane. I have a couple cranes free. And yeah, that I probably am going to stick 3 down. Now these will all be painted afterwards. One thing I forgot, and Titanic has one of these. I'm not too sure what they're called. I don't know how well the camera can pick that out. It's basically a tiny gantry that goes in between the 2 funnels. Now I'm not too sure what they're called. Again, please, if you know, just comment below. That rhymes, I didn't mean to, but hey. Also, must just say this, the gravel which I done has turned out really nicely. Now I done one experiment off camera because I was not sure how it was going to go, and I didn't want to ruin a perfectly good diorama. I got the brown spray, put a pile of the gravel in place down. Let me bring the camera closer. Where are we looking? Here. And I sprayed it with a brown paint, and as you can see, it looks like rocks in the sand. Really pleased with how that turned out. Also, we're going to have a look at doing the bow section, the sand built up around it. We'll have a look at that in this video as well. So I think the first thing we're going to have to do is look at this bow section with the sand. Because I've got the colour of the ship, apart from a few details I want to pick out, like I said, I'm happy with how it looks at the moment. So we're going to have a look at doing the sand around the bow, where the ship sunk, dug in, whilst the back end was still out of the water, the stone was still up, and it snapped, as you can see here. So we'll try and build that up. I haven't got my phone with me, unfortunately, because it keeps dying. I'm having problems with the battery. So I'll zoom the camera in and we'll have a closer look at doing this. There we go. So here's our bow section. You can see the crack there. The sand I've been using is Woodland Scenic sand. Oh no, Pico Scenic. So what we want to do is build up the sand area. Now I know what it looks like in my head. I've seen plenty of pictures of this ship over the years. So what we're going to do is build 3 waves of PVA glue. Now this is just normal PVA, bought from local shop, so nothing special. Don't go into B&Q and buy well, I say don't, you can buy PVA glue from that, but you can get PVA glue in decent sized bottles from a pound shop, and obviously it costs £1, and I've been doing that for years now. Granted, this one I got here didn't cost £1, it cost £4, but it's still pretty good. It's lasted me a couple of months and I've used a lot of it. So let's very carefully, because I don't want to overdo it, we'll do 1 wave of it for now, just to make sure everything's going to plan. I just need a bit of paper just to manoeuvre it. Just rip some to my instructions in half. When you chuck, say you buy some kit and you chuck the cardboard out, it's always wise to keep a little bit of the cardboard, because I use it quite a bit to move the glue like this, and it saves wasting good brushes as well. There we go. Now I won't go over the top with it, put too much on, because I might have to do some small changes. Let's put another row on now. It's so nice to have a camera that actually works. For years I've used all sorts of different cameras for filming, but never actually a proper, you know, camcorder camera. And it just makes life so much easier. Now I do have, I bought a load of plastic spoons. You can buy, you know, from a pound shop. and it comes with forks and everything, but I don't need the forks, I need the spoons. And it's very good for just putting a bit of ballast on. Now ballast model railways, I do a lot of model railways, but getting in areas underneath the ship like this, you can just pat it along, which is quite nice. And I've had such a good, I think I said in the last video, I've had such a good response on this wreck. You know, loads of people have said how wow I've done it, and I really appreciate that, because I really enjoyed building this wreck, and it's something I've wanted to have a go at for quite a while. Now I'm not really getting the rippled effect here, so it's quite hard because this is like very soft sand, so it can leave all sorts of prints and everything, fingerprints even. So I'm just trying to cover a bit of that with just move some of it off the ship. There we go. That's it. Sorry about that, might be hiding a bit of it, but if you've enjoyed these videos, please do let me know. I will be starting a very different kind of shipwreck soon, probably next week. If you like your aircraft carriers, I'm going to be doing an aircraft carrier wreck, so that should be pretty interesting. It's a cheap kit, I think it's only £10, comes with an aircraft carrier and a destroyer, and I think it's going to make a really nice shipwreck scene, so that should be good. Now I haven't really got the ripples in how I would like, so now we won't know the full extent until that dries. You can already see where the PVA is coming out in places. That's great, because that means the PVA is kind of soaking in. So we'll leave it for now, we'll see how we get on. We'll move on to doing some of the other bits. I'm absolutely covered in this sand now, which is great. So yeah, let's move on and we'll have a look at some of the other details I need to work on. Okay, so I've just painted some of the detail, like the chimney and that. Now what I'm going to do is, before I lose it, we're going to stick some of the extra bits around the ship. So that includes the mast here that broke off, some of the cranes that's found next to the ship from possibly the impact or just rust and age, and we do done the stern of the ship as well. So I'm just going to use a bit of PVA for this, nothing serious. Ooh, I'll tell you what I do want to do. Just brush off a bit of this so we get a nice surface to work on. There we go. That's actually a good brush to work with. I'm gonna stick it just there, just out of the way, just a little bit off from where the break was. I think that looks good. And then one of the cranes, if I can get a little pointer, one of the cranes got to go right down here next to the crack, so hopefully I can get that in shot for you right there. There we go. The wreck is looking really good on camera. I hope you can see it as well as I can. I'm looking at my camera now and it does look pretty good, so all this hard work has been worth it because it does look good on camera. And like I said, I've had such a good response on this, and I've also inspired other people to build something like this. There's one or two at the moment on one of the pages I'm on, and there's popped up, and you know, they look great. One of them looks a lot better than mine, so they've gone for all the detail and everything. Right, now hopefully I can just put this in place like so. I'll just get my brush to hit it down. There we go. So it's right next to the wreck. It's very white because I haven't painted it. I'm going to paint after the deluge dried. tomorrow, but that'll be in this video anyway. We're going to move down to the stern. Right. So we got a couple of cranes to put in place here. There's two, I think, that go down this end. The glue will dry transparent, so it don't really matter if I have too much on it. One way around. There we go. I can just change that later on, but that's looking good. And there's one more to go in place, I think. I better just make sure. There we go. So the second crane, I open my head in the way, is going down here, just off the walkway. Not happy how I put that on. I just lost the brush as well. Yeah, not happy with that. Let's get that one out of there. Or we can... yeah, that might work. There we go. I put it on that upside down, basically. I just dropped one of my brushes as well. There we go. So, that's that. Now, importantly, let me just zoom out a bit. The stern mask, which goes right about here. Now this is, there we go. I've done that wrong because it's actually meant to be straighter than that, but I think that'll do. Maybe over here a bit more. That's him. I like the look of that. Like I said, with the PVA in there, it's got a little bit white at the moment, but that'll sort itself out. So that's going to be it at the moment, because like I said, I got to wait for the glue to dry, so I'm going to go up in the house and we'll come down and check it in the morning.